Welcome to Fanfield Fiction. I've got a great video for you today, so let's get right to it. Everyone knows the Jedi and the Sith, two ideologically opposed orders of Force-sensitive, lightsaber-wielding individuals. Of course, we all recognize the brown and tan robes of the Jedi and their blue or green lightsabers, and the black and gray cloaks worn by the Sith and their iconic crimson blades. But what defines them on a philosophical level? What are their beliefs, their ideals? In this video, I'll explain the Jedi and Sith codes, as well as a few other important codes.
There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force.
These words, the Jedi Code, were instilled in every Jedi from the moment they were old enough to understand them. They represented the Jedi's core and most crucial beliefs, and were the guiding force for how Jedi conducted themselves. Dating back thousands of years, the Jedi Code was a representation of what the ideal Jedi should aspire to. There is no emotion, there is peace. This line of the code was the linchpin of the Jedi's tranquil demeanor. Emotion within oneself was something that the Jedi had to identify, accept, and strip away, leaving them as emotionless as possible and at peace. The Jedi believed that by isolating and eliminating their emotions, they would be able to make difficult decisions, often decisions that could determine the fate of many, without letting their personal biases influence their thinking. A Jedi's life is never easy, and the Jedi had to be willing to place others before themselves. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. This line was emblematic of the Jedi's desire to learn more, constantly improving their skills and widening their view of the galaxy so they could see the bigger picture and judge fairly before acting. A Jedi's mind should never be closed to learning more about the galaxy and its inhabitants, or to acquiring new skills and techniques. There is no passion, there is serenity. The Jedi believed that by not forming attachments, they would be much more ready to let go, to sacrifice themselves for the greater good should it be necessary. Attachments, the Jedi believed, could and would lead to the fear of losing those the Jedi was attached to, and as Grandmaster Yoda said,
"Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering."
Jedi are allowed and even encouraged to love, but not to form attachments, as attachment was indicative of possession and the inability to let go.
Attachment is forbidden. Possession is forbidden. Compassion, which I would define as unconditional love, is central to a Jedi's life. So you might say that we are encouraged to love.
Contrary to popular belief, Jedi were permitted to have sex as long as there was no emotional attachment, though most Jedi still chose to remain celibate, and there were some Jedi of certain species allowed to marry and have children for the benefit of their species. Most notable was Jedi Master and High Council member Ki-Adi-Mundi. His species, the Sarians, had an extremely low birth rate for males, and as such, he was an extremely rare exception, allowed to take several wives and father numerous children. This was something that Mundi struggled with, as he did care for his family, but was not allowed to be attached to them, a difficult balance that Mundi had trouble with. There is no chaos, there is harmony. The Jedi do not seek to destroy nor to create chaos. They instead choose to accept the duality of order and chaos, and how these two opposing forces unite all life through the Force. The Force flows from life itself, and through the Force, all life is one.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
We are not just bodies, flesh, bone, but much more, all united through the Force.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
The ideal Jedi is in harmony with all things. There is no death, there is the Force. Even in the death of the physical body, the Jedi remains, part of something greater than the individual. For a Jedi, becoming one with the Force means truly being a part of all things, much like the Buddhist concept of becoming one with everything, and unifying oneself with the world and life itself. Through the Force, the Jedi lives on, and we've seen individual Jedi who can maintain their singular consciousness from beyond the veil of death, such as Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and Anakin Skywalker. Next up is the Crystal Code, which was sometimes recited as a Jedi oversaw their student assembling their first lightsaber.
The crystal is the heart of the blade. The heart is the crystal of the Jedi. The Jedi is the crystal of the Force. The Force is the blade of the heart. All are intertwined. The crystal, the blade, the Jedi. You are one.
The crystal is the heart of the blade. This line is pretty straightforward. The focusing crystal is the most integral part of a lightsaber, as it grants the blade its color and allows the other parts to channel the weapon's plasma into a coherent beam. The heart is the crystal of the Jedi. This line symbolized that while Jedi were not supposed to form attachments or give in to their emotion, they still needed to be able to feel for others and show compassion. The most core aspect of the Jedi was being able to display selfless kindness. The Jedi is the crystal of the Force. This line was indicative of the Jedi's mistaken belief that the Force belonged to them, that they were the most important thing to the Force. In actuality, the Force needed balance, in the light and the dark, the Jedi and the Sith. There needed to be a roughly equal presence of each for the galaxy to function. The Force is the blade of the heart. Once again, this tied into the Jedi's belief that they were the right wielders of the Force, and that they needed their compassion to properly and safely wield the Force for good. All are intertwined. The crystal, the blade, the Jedi. You are one. This final line represented how the crystal was connected to the Jedi that used it. The blade utilized the crystal, and the Jedi used the blade to enact positive change in the galaxy. The lightsaber was part of the Jedi's very identity and being. The Code of the Sith was much different than that of the Jedi, as it focused much more on individuality and personal strength than the Jedi's more tranquil, be at peace with the universe outlook.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me.
The Sith Academy instructor Yuthura Ban explained the Code of the Sith to Revan when he visited Korriban in search of clues to locate the Starforge. The first line is, "Peace is a lie, there is only passion."
The Jedi would have you believe that peace is a desirable goal, that peace of the spirit is the way the Force is mastered, that a lack of conflict betters man. We know different. It is our passion, our hate, and our desire that fuels the Force. It is conflict that improves the lot of civilization and single being both. Conflict forces one to better oneself. It forces change, growth, adaptation, evolution, or death. These are not our laws, but the universe's. Without conflict, you have only stagnation.
Yuthura Ban believed that peace for a Jedi was a lack of conflict, and thus led to stagnation. Conflict, she claimed, was key to progress for both the individual and for civilization as a whole, and she claimed that was a universal truth, not just something inherent to the Sith. Of course, this was not entirely accurate. Jedi, while they did not actively seek conflict, were unafraid to fight should it be necessary. That said, the Jedi had mostly fallen into stagnation, burying their heads in their own dogma. The line itself represents the Sith's rejection of tranquility and embracing of their passions to fuel their power. Rage, hate, fear, pain, all played into the Sith's power. The second line is, "Through passion I gain strength."
What fuels your power with the Force but your passion? The stronger, darker emotions, anger, hatred, fear. These passions empower us.
This line embodies the Sith's constant pursuit of strength at any cost. The Sith saw themselves as seekers, hunters, challengers of the old and weak. They believed the Jedi denied their true natures, that they were afraid of the truth that they were warriors at their core. Yuthura Ban gave the example of the Tukata, a species native to the Sith homeworld Korriban, which were apex predators, hunting prey and feeding on the weak. Passion was what kept all creatures, from the most basic to the most evolved sentience, alive.
To think us creatures beyond the need of simple passions is a delusion.
The third line is, "Through strength I gain power."
The stronger you become in the Force, the more power you will achieve. But always must you fight for your power. Without strife, your victory has no meaning. Without strife, you do not advance. Without strife, there is only stagnation.
The Sith are ultimately defined by their pursuit of power, and nothing exemplifies this better than their constant struggle for supremacy. The Rule of Two, established by Darth Bane, lays forth that while there may be countless Darksiders at the same time, there may only be two true Sith Lords, two rulers of the darkness, a master to have power, and an apprentice to crave it. It was always the Sith's goal to increase their strength, their reach, their influence, and as a whole, the Sith believed that they were served best by that struggle. If a Sith was able to overcome their superior, that superior did not deserve their position. Again, this is shown in the Rule of Two. The apprentice constantly sought a way to overcome their master and take their place, ensuring only the strongest would rule. The fourth line is, "Through power I gain victory."
How many sorts of victories can you imagine? Peaceful victory, victory by sacrifice, a truce, an achievement. Unless the victory is achieved by demonstrating that your power is superior, it is only an illusion, temporary at best. We seek more.
Contrary to what you might expect, the Sith did not believe that victory by any means was desirable. Victory was only truly valid if it proved superiority, and if it didn't, the victory was an illusion and was temporary. The stronger a Sith became in the Force, the more power they could achieve and wield, but that power must always be fought for. The fifth line is, "Through victory, my chains are broken."
This has been argued over, and often. The chains represent our restrictions, both those placed upon us and those we place upon ourselves. Ultimately, the goal of any Sith is to free herself from such restrictions. In a way, it is so we may do whatever we wish, but it is much more than that. One who has freed themselves from all restrictions has reached perfection, their potential fulfilled. Perfect strength, perfect power, perfect destiny.
This line, especially the ending, "My chains are broken," was actually a subject of contention among the Sith. According to some, Yuthura Ban included, the chains symbolized a person's restrictions and was not Sith exclusive, but all beings in the galaxy had some kind of chains, whether literal or metaphorical. These restrictions were placed on an individual not only by others, but by oneself, holding back morality, even love, as was shown when Darth Malgus killed the woman he loved, as he believed that his love for her was holding him back, restraining himself from achieving his full potential. The ultimate goal of any Sith was to free themselves from all of their restrictions, not just with the goal of being free to do whatever they wished, but to remove their own restrictions on themselves and reach their potential and perfection. The person who had those abilities was referred to as the sith'ari, and was the Sith's equivalent of the Jedi Chosen One. The sith'ari was, according to legend, supposed to destroy the Sith and then make them stronger than ever. This led many Sith to treat the idea of perfection as a goal to work towards instead of an actual state of being, which, ironically, was rather similar to the Jedi's pursuit of perfecting themselves as a goal rather than a state of mind. General consensus in galactic history points to Darth Bane as the sith'ari, as he did destroy the Sith at the 7th Battle of Ruusan, only to rebuild it with the Rule of Two, making it far stronger, which ultimately led to the Sith conquering the galaxy under Darth Sidious as the Galactic Empire. The final line is, "The Force shall free me."
The Force is our servant and our master, our teacher and our companion, a weapon and a tool. Know it, and you know the universe. Master it, and you master the universe. Strive for perfection, and the Force shall reward you.
The Sith believed that those who strove for the aforementioned perfection, through both knowledge and mastery of the Force, would ultimately be rewarded. They believed that Sith who adhered to the Code were free of the restrictions of others and sought a greater purpose, dismissing any personal or societal restrictions. The greatest of Sith Lords put the Force itself into their service. This is echoed in the Sith's equivalent of "May the Force be with you," used by the Jedi. The Sith instead said, "May the Force serve you well," or "May the Force ever serve you." The Sith saw the Jedi as servants of the Force, and themselves as its master. The Code of the Sith was originally written by David Geider, who wrote the Korriban segment of Knights of the Old Republic. He asked Lucasfilm if the Sith had a written creed like the Jedi, and when he was told to write one himself, he took the Jedi Code and mirrored it, adding in a bit of Sith philosophy, partially inspired by Adolf Hitler's 1925 autobiographical manifesto, Mein Kampf. There is no official Grey Jedi Code, as Grey Jedi do not exist in canon, explained in my video on Grey Jedi, linked in description, and it has never been properly codified in official Legends material, but there are a handful of fan-made Grey Jedi Codes. My personal favorite is as follows. "There is no light without the dark. Through passion I gain focus. Through knowledge, I gain power. Through serenity, I gain strength. Through victory, I gain harmony. There is only the Force. As the ideal depiction of a gray Jedi is one that uses both the light and the dark, but walks the tightrope between the two without leaning towards one or the other, this is a perfectly fitting code. Let's break it down. There is no light without the dark. The gray Jedi recognize that both the light and the dark must be present. One cannot exist without the other, much how like you can't cast a shadow without a source of light. This line represents their acceptance that both must exist together, in balance. Through passion, I gain focus. A gray Jedi acknowledges that passion can be harnessed, emotions can be used to push oneself further in battle, and can make you sharper, faster, stronger, more accurate. Palpatine alluded to this when he revealed his identity as Darth Sidious to Anakin Skywalker.
Are you going to kill me?
I would certainly like to.
I know you would. I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Through knowledge, I gain power. This line dictates a belief that has existed in the real world for thousands of years. Knowledge is power. By gaining more knowledge, through teachers, books, holocrons, or even one's own personal practice and training, you can increase your skills and become more powerful. Through serenity, I gain strength. By achieving a serene mindset, the gray Jedi can see without their mind being clouded by fear or hate. This line superficially seems to be completely counter to the second line, through passion I gain focus, but it's actually a balance. Gray Jedi use their passions to focus them, to help isolate their goal, then settle their minds so that they're not distracted from the singular goal they focused on. Through victory, I gain harmony. Victory over an enemy isn't something to be gloated over, but rather a way to achieve further peace. By vanquishing a foe, you are no longer in conflict with them. You are more in harmony, more at peace with the universe, more at peace with the Force. There is only the Force. Gray Jedi do not believe that they serve the Force as many Jedi do, nor do they believe that the Force serves them as the Code of the Sith professes. Instead, the Force is an ally, a friend, a mentor, and even a student, learning the collective knowledge of everyone and everything that has lived, is living, or will live. The Gray Jedi does not acknowledge there being a good aspect of the Force and a bad aspect of the Force. The Force simply is, and good and evil are determined by its application. The Force itself stands apart from moral considerations. Interestingly, the earliest version of the Jedi Code, written thousands of years before the events of the movies by the forerunners to the Jedi Order, the Jedi, was much closer to Grey Jedi tenets, and it espoused the balance so inherent to the Grey Jedi's beliefs. Emotion, yet peace. Ignorance, yet knowledge. Passion, yet serenity. Chaos, yet harmony. Death, yet the Force. This code outlined that both halves existed together. Emotion, yet peace. This line dictated to the code's adherents that while everyone had emotions, it was foolish to push them aside. You need to acknowledge your emotions and be at peace with them, not despite them. Ignorance, yet knowledge. In the face of the vast galaxy and the Force flowing through it, the single individual was truly ignorant, but that didn't mean they should stay there. Instead, this line of the code told its followers that they should accept that they're ignorant of many things, and to balance that, they should always seek new knowledge. Passion, yet serenity. Like the Grey Jedi, ancient Jedi believed that passion must drive serenity. You must accept your passions, use them to better yourself, but always be mindful to not let the passions dictate your actions. You must be fueled by your passions, not driven by them, and must consider your passions with a clear head. Chaos, yet harmony. The galaxy is, by its very nature, a wild, chaotic place, and that's not a bad thing. Chaos is inherent to life. All living things struggle for life, for food, for shelter, for power, and yet all living beings are harmonious and connected through the Force. Death, yet the Force. Much like the modern Jedi Code's final line, there is no death, there is the Force, the ancient code accepted that death is an inseparable part of life, and that those who die become one with the Force. The difference here is that the ancient code saw death as an actual end and start of something new, while the modern code saw death as simply a transition to another stage of existence. Thanks for watching! I've always loved the Jedi and Sith codes ever since I first heard them in Knights of the Old Republic, and they're an integral part of Star Wars lore, so I thought a video on them was a good idea. Got an idea for a video, something you're curious about, or even just a topic you'd like me to cover? Go ahead and leave a comment on the video, or drop me a line at the official Fan Fueled Fiction email on screen now. If you liked this video, Don't worry, there's more on the way, and please consider dropping a like, a comment, or hitting that subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds for you and really helps the channel out. See you in the next one, and may the Force be with you, always.